From Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, a podcast for women on leadership and life skills with Rhea Story. Rhea shares powerful life and leadership principles, helping you maximize your potential and become the woman God created you to be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on the 4 dimensions of life. I really think that it's important that we stop and look at life in all 4 dimensions, because a lot of times what happens is we get out of balance in one dimension of life and it affects the other dimensions of life. So an example of this would be, the workaholic or the busy executive that works 60 or 70-hour weeks and finds that their health starts to suffer. So that's an example of where they're working hard and their career is going great, and that's in the social and relationship dimension of life, and that's being very successful in that dimension, but it's causing that person to suffer in the physical dimension of life. So they become out of balance. And I love to think of this in terms of using the analogy of a wheel. And all 4 dimensions have to be balanced in order for that wheel to turn smoothly. So the 4 different dimensions of life are the physical dimension, which is our environment, our physical body. It's the physical world that we're in. The second dimension is the emotional dimension, or the mental dimension. This is our mental state, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts. This is where personal growth happens, is that mental and emotional dimension where we really have to invest in our mind and the thoughts that we're thinking. The third dimension is, as I mentioned, the social or the relationship dimension. This is the dimension where we interact with other people. And the fourth dimension is the spiritual dimension, or the values-based dimension. So, and all of these dimensions are interrelated, and they make up who we are as a person, the whole connected person. Now, what's interesting is that the choices that we make in one dimension affect the other dimensions, but they also affect our influence in the social and this influence dimension. So, for example, what I mean by that is the choices that we make in our values-based or spiritual dimension are going to ultimately affect the thoughts that we think, the behaviors that we engage in, and that's going to affect the influence that we have in the social dimension. So an example of this would be, our kids, our teenagers. The choices that they make at 15 might be who to spend their time with, who to hang out with, who are their friends. And if one of those friends is toxic to them, maybe engaging in bad behaviors that don't really serve them, or maybe it's things that you as a parent feel are poor choices. Maybe it's drugs, maybe it's hanging out or cutting school or dropping school altogether. Whatever it is, you feel like those choices are affecting your son or daughter. And it does, because they start to spend time with that person who's engaged in those behaviors. So that person or that friend of your son or daughter's values a behavior that you feel like your son or daughter doesn't value. But pretty soon, your son or daughter is influenced, and they start to maybe think thoughts like that friend, or maybe they start to engage in the same behaviors. And then that also affects their influence in the social dimension. So all of these dimensions, they're interrelated and they're connected. And I used the analogy a few minutes ago of a wheel. It's every dimension in life must be in balance. So we've often got to take a step back and look at all 4 dimensions and say, where am I out of harmony? Where am I out of alignment? Because if our physical health starts to suffer, sooner or later, if we get out of balance enough in that physical dimension, we're not able to carry out maybe the work that we're involved in, or our mission as a parent, or our career, or whatever we're passionate about. Because at some point, if our health starts to suffer, it keeps us and prevents us from carrying out some of our responsibilities. And alternatively, if we're out of balance or we're not growing in the mental and emotional dimension, we're not developing our mind, we're not focused on personal growth, at least some of the time, we're not making better choices in the other dimensions of life. So if we're focused on growing and developing our mind and personal growth, and we've got a personal growth plan, whatever that looks like, then that helps us stop and intentionally make better choices in the other dimensions of life. And we really have to be intentional about this because life is busy. Life is so full. It's so easy to get carried away and just kind of going through the motions of life. So I really want to challenge you today to just take a step back and look at each area of your life. And on a scale of 1 to 10, if you had to rate each of these dimensions, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied would you be with where you are and where you want to go? So asking yourself questions like, in the physical dimension, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do I get enough adequate sleep? And if the answer is, well, some nights I don't get enough sleep. Maybe 3 nights out of 10, I get 8 hours of sleep or however much I need. Then that's not doing really well in that dimension of life. It's going to affect how tired you are, how much energy you have throughout your day. So that would be an area of improvement. Now, there's no right or wrong answers. When we start to do this type of self-reflection, there's no one to tell you what's exactly right or wrong for you. Only you can decide. Am I getting enough sleep compared to how much I need and how much I know I should be? Only you can decide that. Another example would be exercise in that physical dimension. We all know we should drink 8 glasses of water a day and exercise 3 times a week. But not all of us do it. So just asking yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how often am I really hitting my goal in terms of exercising and eating food that nourishes me? The mental dimension, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied am I with my plan for personal growth? Do I have an intentional plan for developing my mind so that I can increase my influence in the social dimension or the relationship skills? On a scale of 1 to 10, in that relationship dimension or the social dimension, how satisfied am I with loving, supporting, nurturing friendships that support me? If the answer is not very, then that's an opportunity for improvement. How can I be intentional about identifying ways to improve that? Or maybe the spiritual dimension. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied am I with my spiritual life? Do I have enough time to spend either reflecting or praying or thinking about my values as an individual and how those translate into my life? Do I spend enough time thinking about who I am as a person and what that means in terms of my life? So often we just don't take the time to think about choices like this. So I really want to just challenge you, think about this. I have an assessment that I do in my book called Prime Time, where I really ask the reader or the participant to step back. I even do this in the workshops that I hold on this subject of time management, quote unquote, because we really can't manage time. We can only manage what we do in time. But that really starts with a question of identifying our values, what's most important. So I offer an assessment in my book, Prime Time, where I really just every dimension of life have 10 different questions. And I ask the reader or the participant to step back and on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied am I with the choices that I'm making in each area of life? And that allows us to look at the whole big picture and say, what area is out of balance? So really, I encourage you, just stop and be intentional about reflecting on some of these choices in each of the 4 dimensions of life. Identifying where you are and identifying where you want to go will help you identify how to get there. Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Ria's audiobooks. Available at audible.com Amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit riastory.com to learn about Ria's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.